It's January 20th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with the formal arrest of President Yoon Suk-yeol. The impeached president spent the first night at the Seoul Detention Center with a prison number and an inmate uniform after being formally arrested on Sunday over his martial law order. Investigators notified Yoon to attend questioning at 10 a.m. Monday morning. Inauguration celebrations have commenced in the U.S. to welcome back President-elect Donald Trump as the 47th President of the United States. He promised to fix every single crisis facing his country during his victory rally speech ahead of Monday's swearing-in ceremony. 3 hostages have returned to Israel on the first day of the Gaza ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas after 15 months in Gaza. 30 more hostages are set to be freed over the next 6 weeks. President Yoon Suk-yeol was formally arrested on Sunday, which means he stays put in the Seoul Detention Center, but now with a prisoner number. We go straight to the site where he's being detained with our Kim Do-yeon standing by. Do-yeon, how are things looking there this morning, and what might we see today?
Good morning, Dami. As you said, I'm standing in front of Seoul Detention Center, where President Yoon has been detained since last week. Now, I see a handful of protesters in support of President Yoon with police officers at the scene and barricades to maintain order here at the spot. Now, of course, members of the media have been coming here early in the morning to see whether President Yoon will be leaving here for more questioning at the CIO. However, according to his legal team, he has once again refused to make himself available for the questioning session. They have been saying that Yoon has already shared everything with the CIO, so there is no need for additional questioning. They did this since early into his detention, and he's only appeared at the CIO on the day of his detention. And yesterday, when the second arrest warrant was issued, he was again refused to show himself at the CIO. Now, as President Yoon is in custody, the CIO could be looking at being more forceful with President Yoon, something the investigators will certainly have to be careful with. All in all, President Yoon has only appeared once at the CIO.
Now, Do-yeon, to clarify, President Yoon is under a new and different kind of arrest warrant than what was issued last week, like you mentioned. Now, some say he's, quote, officially arrested. What does this mean?
Dami, that's right. Over the weekend, the CIO was able to get a arrest warrant that would keep him detained for longer until early February. That means the CIO and the prosecutors will have more time to question President Yoon and investigate this case further. There are 2 types of arrests. One that preliminarily allows the investigators to detain suspects for 48 hours, and after questioning within that 48 hours, the investigators will request for an extended warrant. Yoon is now being held under that second part, as a local court on early Sunday morning granted the CIO's request despite efforts from Yoon's legal team to fight back. This means he is now dressed in a detention center issued uniform with an inmate number assigned to him. Considering his status, he will have a separate cell and guards will try to isolate him from other inmates. According to the Justice Ministry, he's had a mugshot taken and a body search, the same procedure as anyone else who has been arrested. It's because of all these details that some are calling Yoon's current situation an official arrest.
Right. Do-yeon, now the CIO has also banned Yoon from personal visits, citing possible obstruction of evidence. Do-yeon, what does this mean?
Dami, right. As President Yoon uses his legal rights to sort of refuse to be questioned and to delay the investigation process, the CIO themselves are using their legal authority to pressure President Yoon. As you said, except for Yoon's attorneys, he's not going to be able to see anyone for personal reasons until formal prosecution begins for this case. The CIO cited obstruction of evidence for this ban, and remember, that's what the court cited when they issued the second official arrest warrant. Now, Yoon's legal team could also be filing for a review of the legality of this current arrest, but we'll have to see how this legal battle unfolds in the future. That's all for now. Back to you, Dami.
Alrighty, Do-yeon, thank you for that report. That was our Kim Do-yeon reporting live from the Seoul Detention Center. And it was a weekend full of violence and anger, with pro-Yoon protesters attacking a court that issued the formal arrest warrant against him. Our Kim Bo-kyung tells us more.
Seoul Western District Court, which was attacked by supporters of President Yoon on early Sunday morning, returns to normal operations on Monday, though vehicle access is restricted and identity verification is required to enter. The court faced an unprecedented attack after it issued President Yoon's formal arrest warrant at around 3 a.m. on Sunday. Angry supporters stormed into the court heading to the back entrance when blocked by police at the front gate. Some smashed windows using stones and fire extinguishers to enter the court. Inside, they sprayed fire extinguishers, vandalized televisions and ATMs along with other items, and even ransacked a judge's chambers on the 7th floor looking for Judge Cha Eun-kyung, who was responsible for the decision to issue the warrant. The protesters were only dispersed 3 hours later at around 6 a.m. after a large police force was deployed. A total of 87 protesters were apprehended. On Sunday afternoon, Yoon supporters focused the protest on the Constitutional Court, which was responsible for making a decision over Yoon's impeachment. They split into 3 groups in Jongno-gu district and held unregistered rallies at locations nearby. Though the police notified protesters of possible punishment, they did not disband. There were no clashes between the police and the protesters, but 3 people were apprehended, one for climbing over the wall of the court for a suspected break-in, one for possessing a crowbar, and another for suspected obstruction of official duties. Responding to the attack on the Seoul Western District Court, police and the prosecution said they will deal sternly with all of the protesters who were involved in violent acts by investigating them under detention. Citing their attack as grave crimes that undermine the rule of law and judicial system, the prosecution on Sunday formed a 9-member team to investigate the protesters. The Supreme Court Chief Justice is to hold an emergency meeting of justices on Monday morning to share how the situation unfolded and talk about the ways to restore the rule of law, including normalizing court functions and preventing a similar incident from occurring again. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
So South Korea saw its leader being formally arrested for the first time over the weekend, with the investigation into President Yoon's martial law declaration still looking tricky. Let's turn to a legal expert, An Jung-sung, for more. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So the risk of evidence being destroyed, that's what ultimately led to the formal arrest over the weekend, wasn't it?
That's correct. As under the Korean Criminal Code, the court may detain a criminal defendant if a 2-pronged test is met. First is whether there is a probable cause to believe that defendant has committed a crime as charged. And second, whether there is a reasonable ground to believe that one of 3 conditions met. One is the defendant has no fixed dwelling, or there's evident destruction and possible to flee. And after the court issued the warrant, right? Warrant for detention, and then they also issued a brief statement, which means that they have a concern of evident destruction. That's why they issued the warrant, right?
Well, President Yoon is in a prison cell for now, but the fact that he's still a sitting president doesn't change. The question is, how much security or protection does he get as the president when he's in the prison cell?
Oh, that's very interesting question, because it never happened before, right? In modern Korean history. So we never expected that kind of things happen in Korea. So there's no written provision and how to do it. So it basically means that the parties have to get together, discuss it, and make an agreement and how to arrange that situation. So we have to wait and see. So for example, when he have to go outside of prison, right? Basically, they actually have a double protection, right? They have a prison bus, and then also the Secret Service will kind of surround him, surround the bus, right? His bus, basically. So I think that's what kind of a double protection maybe. But inside the prison cell, I don't think they have any need to get a further protection, because it's very secure inside the prison cell, right?
It's even harder to tell when he's refusing to, come out for questioning. Now, investigators can keep Yoon in custody for up to 20 days. They say, how are they going to spend the given period, and how will they split the 20 days with the prosecutors?
Well, two different things, right? First of all, there's a specific legal provision on the maximum period for detention, which is 20 days. So
Right.
we know there's a maximum 20 days. However, there's a written provision on how to split the time between the party, namely the CIO and the prosecution. So basically, it works as the by agreement, basically. So well, it depends on what kind of things are their process on investigation side. They will decide. They might change their 50-50 situation. They might go for maybe they give up questioning him because he never answered the question anyway. So they might speed up the process, and because they want to make best value or make best of the time limit, 20 days. So they will decide depends on how the President Yoon react to their questioning.
Well, President Yoon says he will not show up for questioning at 10 a.m. this morning to the investigators. So he's clearly giving a hard time to the investigators. But do you think he'll cooperate with the prosecutors where he comes from?
I think that's a very interesting question to me because that's what he said. But if you see what happened, maybe if you have 2 months, and he said one thing, but he did something else, another. So we have to wait and see. And plus, I'm not sure whether, in terms of legal strategy, litigation strategy, whether it's the best for him to testify or even to cooperate with the prosecution rather than not talking to the CIO personnel, because that's still investigators. So I think there are different, name tag, but they're same investigation, basically. So I'm not sure whether it's going to best. And the CIO also had to make a decision whether to make a judgment call, whether is it better handing over to the prosecution earlier than expected. That's really thing. It depends on what happened.
Well, earlier we saw footage of angry Yoon supporters causing a scene at a court after the warrant was issued on Sunday. Now, at least 86 supporters of Yoon have been apprehended for storming the court. What will they be charged with? How will they be held responsible?
Yeah, actually, I was very shocked to watch what happening by the supporters, so-called supporters. Well, I don't think they're supporters anymore because they're destroying the government structures. I mean, that's very concerning. That's against the Korean legal system. I think that's very concerning. There's many charges, possible charges, especially there's the obstruction of justice charges, which is maximum 7 years imprisonment. That's a very serious charge. Also, there's a court contempt, also which is also maximum 3 years, or the 7 million won criminal fine. So that's very serious. Also, there's possibly riot charge, which is the maximum 10 years and 15 million won, the maximum fine. So if you add up, I mean, it could be 20 years maximum sentence. That's I think that's a very serious charge because even it's much serious than the actual murder charge in Korea. Is maximum 20 years. So I think that's very serious. And then the court taking it very seriously because they basically destroy the court, right? That's a very serious charge against the court, and court will take it very seriously. Yeah, that's a very serious charge.
It is indeed a grave concern that the safety of the country is being tested. Sir, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, following his detention, President Yoon's senior secretaries held a meeting on Sunday to discuss how to move forward as an administration. In a press statement, the top office pledged support for the government's efforts to effectively manage diplomatic and security affairs, given the evolving international landscape, such as leadership changes in allied nations. It will work with the cabinet to address high exchange and interest rates and oil prices, which affect people's livelihoods. Chief of Staff Chung Jin-seok called on all secretaries to fulfill their respective roles as public officials to ensure stable governance. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump officially moves back into the White House on Monday. And inauguration-related events are in full swing, with the inauguration itself set to take place indoors due to extreme winter conditions. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
In less than a day, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump will be sworn into office and return to the White House 4 years after his election defeat to Joe Biden. 4 days of inauguration-related events kicked off on Saturday with a reception and fireworks at his golf club in Virginia, with around 500 people in attendance. On Sunday, he visited Arlington National Cemetery and laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. And due to the extreme winter conditions in the U.S. Capitol, the Inauguration Day ceremony will take place indoors at the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. Monday is expected to be the coldest Inauguration Day in 40 years, with temperatures forecast to dip to -5 degrees Celsius, with winds blowing up to 48 kilometers per hour due to an Arctic vortex in the region. After Trump is sworn into office, he will make his inauguration speech before events close on Tuesday with a prayer service at Washington National Cathedral. Despite the extreme winter conditions, supporters of Trump came to celebrate his return with the Make America Great Again victory rally taking place on Sunday.
I got here at 5 in the morning. Yeah, and tomorrow the same. I was going to go out there now because of the freezing cold. I don't care. I've got to do it. I've got to do it now. I can't wait to dance that YMCA dance. I'm practicing. I'm hoping Trump will wave back, and yeah.
The rally took place at the Capital One Arena in Washington, where Trump held his pre-inauguration address. There, Trump promised to usher in a new era of American prosperity, adding that on Monday, the country will begin a brand new day of American strength, prosperity, dignity, and pride. Meanwhile, video sharing platform TikTok said Sunday it was restoring its service. The move comes after Trump said he would reverse a ban on the app when he returns to the Oval Office. TikTok said in a message to users that the service would be restored as a result of President Trump's effort. In an interview with NBC News' Meet the Press on Saturday, Trump said he would most likely give the platform a 90-day reprieve from a potential ban in the U.S. once he takes office. While a final decision hasn't been made, the soon-to-be U.S. leader is considering the extension for the China-based parent company to sell to a non-Chinese buyer or face a U.S. ban. TikTok stopped working in the U.S. on Saturday before a law shutting it down on the grounds of national security took effect on Sunday. Washington had warned of Americans' data being misused by Chinese parent company ByteDance. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, Trump's comeback also means the return of his feisty protectionist trade policies. For South Korea, experts say it'll be a time of both risks and opportunities. Our Moon Hae-ryun explains.
As U.S. President Donald Trump takes office for his second term, his aggressive trade policies, particularly targeting China, are raising concerns worldwide. Trump has signaled plans for sweeping tariffs, including additional levies on Chinese imports, as part of his broader protectionist strategy, aiming to shift global trade dynamics and strengthen U.S. leverage. However, such policies have raised alarm in countries like South Korea, heavily reliant on exports. For South Korea, Trump's trade war with China poses both risks and opportunities across a wide range of industries. Advanced technology sectors such as semiconductors could face increased barriers to trade as a result of the U.S.-China tensions. Trump's protectionist policies have also triggered concerns surrounding potential amendments to the Inflation Reduction Act and whether Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, as beneficiaries of the Chips and Science Act, could be affected. Experts say that while anything that has already been signed into contract is safe, possible future subsidies could be at risk. But the U.S. also stands to be negatively impacted as a result.
If President Trump really wants to use tariffs to induce semiconductor investment in the United States, tariffs has to be higher than 20%. And if the tariff for semiconductors do go that high, then it probably will hurt the United States more than help it.
The steel and automobile industries could also be affected as they have been historically important for the U.S. economy.
They have been really important in the U.S. economy, especially by taking important roles in creating jobs for a long time, but have lost their competitiveness in the labor market. So the Trump administration is expected to implement higher tariffs on the goods that experience large trade deficits.
On the upside, some sectors in South Korea could benefit from Trump's tariffs. For instance, industries like electric vehicles and batteries, where South Korea has a strong presence, may see increased demand as countries look to diversify their supply chains and reduce reliance on China. South Korea's plans to boost its eco-friendly vehicle sector and advance battery technology through significant investments, as announced by Acting President and Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok earlier last week, may position it as a global leader in these fields. There is also growing anticipation that U.S. sanctions on China's shipbuilding sector will benefit South Korea's shipbuilding companies as they gain a competitive edge. As Trump's trade policies take shape, South Korea's industries and government will need to stay agile, balancing the potential risks and rewards in this evolving trade landscape. 문혜련, Arirang News.
The World Economic Forum, where world leaders gather to discuss issues facing the world, will kick off on Monday at the Swiss resort of Davos. The theme of the 55th Davos Forum is Collaboration for the Intelligent Age, with the aim of creatively solving problems for humanity by utilizing technological advancements while preventing the negative impacts caused by the widespread use of AI. Around 2,500 people, including 350 high-ranking government officials around the world, will attend. And U.S. President-elect Donald Trump will give a speech virtually on Thursday, just 3 days after his inauguration.
Good morning, I'm Choi Ji-hee, and this is The World Now. Starting with the Israel-Hamas conflict, on January 19th local time, the first 3 Israeli hostages of 33 to be released according to the recent ceasefire agreement were freed by Hamas. The International Committee of the Red Cross facilitated the transfer, escorting the 3 women to an Israeli military checkpoint. Upon arrival, they were reunited with their families and transported to a medical center for examination, where the director said all 3 were in stable condition. Romy Gonen, Doron Steinbrecher, and Emily Damari had been abducted on October 7th near a kibbutz and music festival during the Hamas attack. On Sunday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office released a video showing him receiving news about the return of 3 hostages. Global leaders, including Joe Biden and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, expressed relief at the hostages' release and emphasized ongoing efforts to secure freedom for those still in captivity. Over in Nigeria, at least 86 people died and 55 were injured on Saturday when a crashed fuel truck exploded near the Suleja area in Niger State. The massive blast happened as individuals tried to transfer fuel from an overturned tanker to another vehicle using a generator. Many victims were bystanders who had gathered at the scene, including those taking pictures and others trying to collect the spilled fuel. While the death toll could be higher according to officials, those injured are receiving treatment at local hospitals. Fatal truck accidents are prevalent in Nigeria, which is Africa's most populous country, largely due to the lack of an efficient railway system for transporting cargo. At least 48 people were killed in a similar incident in Niger State in September. In 2020 alone, over 1,500 accidents were reported, resulting in 535 fatalities, according to Nigeria's Federal Road Safety Corps. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, convened its foreign ministers' retreat on Sunday in Langkawi, Malaysia. The retreat was the first major meeting under Malaysia's ASEAN chairmanship for 2025 and opened under the theme Inclusivity and Sustainability. Foreign ministers from the 10 ASEAN member states attended, with East Timor's foreign minister also participating as an observer. East Timor will soon become the association's 11th member. Key discussions focused on the ongoing crisis in Myanmar and territorial disputes in the South China Sea. Concerns about the impact of U.S.-China rivalry on ASEAN unity were also raised. In Monaco, the 47th International Circus Festival of Monte Carlo is underway. The event, created by Prince Rainier III of Monaco in 1974, brings together top circus performers from around the globe, competing for the Golden Clown Award. It runs from January 17th to the 26th. Highlights of this year's festival include a record-breaking act featuring over 40 animals in the ring at once, a debut performance by China's renowned bicycle acrobats, and a daring quadruple somersault by Mexican trapeze artists. Young talents from the new generation competition will also showcase their skills alongside seasoned artists.
hits Daehan today, the last winter seasonal term, meaning great cold. But temperatures will be way warmer than usual. However, central parts of Korea could see a mix of light rain and snow through late this afternoon. And today's warmth will bring dusty air to the country. Right now, the capital area and Jeju are choking on bad air, but when the temperatures go up this afternoon, the air quality will worsen nationwide. The season's first preliminary fine dust reduction measures have been issued in Chungcheongnam-do province. Then afternoon highs will be 2 to 5 degrees Celsius higher than norms. Seoul gets up to 8 degrees, Daegu, Busan, Jeju at 11 degrees. It will be cloudier in western regions. The East Coast remains under a dry weather advisory. Well, it's going to feel more like early March this week, but air quality will cause a headache. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That's all we have for this morning. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful start to the week.